and named Defensive Player of the Year after leading the league in blocks for the third straight season. Wemby becomes the first unanimous Defensive Player of the Year in the history of the award, which dates back to 1983. And keeping it in the Western Conference, the Nuggets will try to go up 2-0 in their series against Minnesota tonight. It was the Murray and Jokic show. In Game 1 for Denver, the duo scored or assisted on 77% of the Nuggets' points, both going for 25-5-5 for the 8th time in their postseason careers. Now, on the other side, for Minnesota, it Star didn't have his A game, especially from deep, as Anthony Edwards continues to battle through a knee injury. He is listed as questionable for Game 2 tonight. On the scene in Denver is our NBA senior writer, Anthony Slater. So what more can you tell us about Ant's status ahead of tonight's game?
Yeah, you said officially questionable, but all signs point to him playing. He was questionable for Game 1, went through a warm-up, played. I saw him out here about 5 hours ago on the court for shoot-around. Went through a shooting routine, was sitting there talking to Chris Finch, had his shoes on and everything. So, again, the expectation is he will play, but the question is how good will he be? In Game 1, 22 points, low efficiency, 7-19 overall, 2-9 from 3. He had some burst moments, but you could tell he's still grimacing a little bit with this knee injury that held him out of 11 of the final 14 games. Is basically being termed like Steph Curry's issue with runner's knee, and nothing structural, but clearly some swelling and some pain he's trying to fight through, and they need a great version of him tonight.
You said that the T-Wolves have lost 4 straight road playoff games, so they definitely need him on his A game. We'll see if they can break that streak tonight. Anthony Slater, live from Denver. Kevin?
Let's bring back Shump. Amon Ant is questionable. We just talked about that. So who needs to step up in order for the Timberwolves to even this series?
Well, I mean, besides Ant-Man needing to play, I think you look to Jaden McDaniels. He is one of those guys that goes out there and kind of is a master of the broken play. He gets deflections. He gets out on the breakaway. He gets sneaky drives. He's able to get to 1-2 dribble pull-ups. He's able to shoot from the outside. I think that we could look for him to be a little bit more aggressive, not just because of Ant-Man's help, but just because of how stagnant the offense gets sometimes. I think he kind of knows if they can get in here and steal one, it'll be better off for them in the heap of things trying to get over that hump with Denver. So look for him to be more aggressive. I look for DiVincenzo to be a little bit more aggressive, as there might be a few more available shots as they try to corral those other two.
And keep in mind, McDaniels had 16 points and 8 rebounds in Game 1. Christine?
Yeah, the NBA playoffs kept rolling yesterday with the Thunder starting their title defense with a rout of the Sun. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 25 and sat out the fourth quarter of the 119-84 win. Victor Wembanyama's playoff debut was a hit. 35 points in the Spurs' 111-98 win over the Blazers. Not even Tim Duncan had that many in his playoff debut. Wemby showed why he's such a unicorn, hitting 5 of 6 three-pointers. After tearing his Achilles in last year's playoffs, Jason Tatum returned in style. He had 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists in a 123-91 blowout of the Sixers. Tatum had 21 in the first half in just his 17th game of the season. And Cade Cunningham had a playoff career-high 39 points, but it did not do enough to help as the Magic upset the Pistons 112-101. Detroit has lost 11 straight at home in the postseason, dating back to 2008. So, Iman, what are you seeing from the Magic and this team and what they were able to do in Detroit and upset the 1 seed in Game 1?
I think that they've just found a way to be inspired. I don't know if my rant the other day on ESPN got them all riled up, but what they did is they came out with some passion. They came out with some purpose, and they've taken some pride. They've taken some steps on defense. They are now helping the helper. Guys are meeting each other at the rim. It's been a lot better from a team standpoint. The biggest thing that you've also seen is, though they play through Banchero, who's allowed to carry the offense and shows that he can carry the offense, they have spurts where Bane is allowed to carry him. And now, at least it was last game, they figured out that if they give it to Wagner down the stretch, he really can take them home. They look like a totally different ball team when he had the ball, making decisions and making sure that they had go-away buckets every time it looked like the lead would slip away. He made a move. So I would like to see if Game 2 we see some more of that, where they play through Banchero, but toward the end of the game, do they go through Wagner to make sure they get home?
Yeah, all 5 Magic starters scored 15 points, 3rd time in the franchise's playoff history. Shump, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The NBA playoffs first round continues Wednesday night with the East top seed, the Pistons, down 1-0. They'll host Paolo Banchero and the Magic at 7 Eastern. Then it's SGA and the defending champs taking on Devin Booker and the Suns. Our coverage tips with Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Shaq at 6 p.m.
See, we got some breaking news in college basketball. UConn guard Solo Ball will undergo wrist surgery and will miss all of next season. He's going to take a medical red shirt. Ball averaged 14 points per game.
That Game 2 is actually the hardest game that he feels in a series. And everybody talks about the closeout game, but he's like, after you have a big game 1, you know that team that loses in a game 2 is going to come out more motivated to throw a counter punch. And for Toronto, that starts with Brandon Ingram. He had 9 shots in total in game 1, including 1 in the second half. And he said it after the game, look, at the end of the day, me shooting 9 shots is not going to win basketball games. So the Raptors are going to look for ways to get him more space, free him up offensively. And R.J. Barrett pointed out the fact that they got a lot of guys on this team that went through their first playoff game in game 1, first time, and he expects them to be much more settled, much more relaxed and used to the physicality of the environment. But one thing for Toronto, they are going to be without Emmanuel Quickley for a second straight game. They say he's progressing and getting better, but they're going to be without their point guard here for a second straight game with that hamstring issue.
You mentioned the environment. It looks like it's a vibe out there. Toronto has their work cut out for them. The Cavs have won 11 straight game 2s of a playoff series after winning game 1. Jamal Collier, live from Cleveland. Thank you, Kevin.
You got the vibe in Cleveland. You got the vibe at MSG, of course, with the Knicks set to try to take a 2-0 series lead. The NBA champ, Iman Shumpert, here to get us ready for some more playoff hoops. So the Knicks look to keep on rolling here, Shump, after winning that first game of their series. What are you hearing or what are you watching for in the matchup as the Hawks look to even things up in New York?
Well, what I'm watching is the Knicks have to continue to do what they did defensively. They did a great job trying to contain the Hawks' backcourt and competing against that backcourt to get into the legs. I know C.J. McCollum did his thing, and it could be deceiving as to how you saw it get done. But just using all those dribbles and having to do all the things that he had to do, everything he did was tough buckets, contested buckets, and trying to find different ways to knife into that defense because they couldn't get offense going. They can continue to make them start offense from close to near half court. I think the Knicks are in good shape. Jalen Brunson was able to get his thing going, and then Cat at the end, I know during the game he had to be a playmaker, doing a lot of handoffs, late passes out of the cuts. But toward the end of the game, he found his rhythm and got aggressive offensively. Knicks could walk away with game 2 as well, as long as they keep that up.
Knicks are 6.5-point favorites tonight, according to the DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's talk about a team that's no longer playing. That's the Warriors. They were eliminated in the play-in Friday. Head coach Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green, they shared that special moment on the court. On his podcast today, Draymond says he thinks it could be the end of an era, especially for Kerr, who led Golden State to 4 titles. Listen to this.
I hope he's our coach next year. I also hope I'm on this team next year. We also don't know that, which we'll get into. But I don't know, man. It felt like that was it. It really felt like that was it. What a run it's been. So lucky to have had for 12 years Steve as my coach. But I'm truly at a loss now because you just don't know. Just got to stay ready for whatever it is and, roll with the punches.
There's a lot to unpack after those comments. It feels like every time Draymond says something, we got to unpack it. What's your reaction, Shump, to what Draymond said about Steve Kerr?
I feel for him. As a guy that came in the league and had to deal with coach after coach, I never really got comfortable with one coach being my coach. Every year it seemed like I got a new one. But to have the same coach for as long as they did, to be able to develop the relationship, the trust, the winning culture that they got to bring over there. If this is the end of that era, I just want those guys to know thank you. They've played some great basketball, displayed some great moments. And they've been great for the basketball culture as a whole.
Well said. You just wish that Jimmy Butler was healthy so we could have seen this team in the postseason make a potential run one final time if this is the last of Kerr and Draymond in Golden State. Shump, thank you so much. Christine?
Thank you.
Yeah, this just in, Kevin Durant is a game-time decision for tomorrow's Game 2 against the Lakers. He went through half of practice today. Houston lost to L.A. in the opening game after suffering a knee injury in practice.